and welcome to our Stableside chat, which is a roundtable discussion where we're going to talk with some horse people who are using Centropix Kloud in an informal and conversational style. And in this episode, we have the pleasure of having 3 guests with extensive horse experience. Additionally, they all do equine bodywork. I'm Lori Brander, and I live and work with horses every single day. And I've also been involved in PEMF for over 7 years with a focus on equine. We're also very fortunate to have Chitvan Malik with us this evening. And Chitvan is a world's foremost expert on the field of PEMF technology education. And for those not familiar with our Kloud, she's going to give us a little brief introduction to the technology. Good evening, Chitvan.
Thank you, Lori. I'm so excited to join everybody. Thank you, Lori, for organizing this webinar. And so I am here to talk about the Kloud and what it does. So before I start, it's important to read the disclaimer here. The information provided in this presentation is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. And Centropix marketing materials and statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. Centropix products are wellness and fitness devices and not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. So with that, let's get started. So the field of PEMF has been around since the 1950s. That's when the first PEMF device was recognized by the FDA. And since then, there's been more than 20,000 studies that have been published worldwide. And so PEMF is definitely not on trial. It's very widely accepted. And there is decades of benefits. And also NASA and the European Space Agency has used it extensively to optimize the astronauts' well-being, especially when they leave the Earth's gravitational field. So this is what the Kloud set looks like. It's truly the next generation in PEMF. And this has this Dr. Kafka's patented breakthrough signal. Dr. Kafka's an expert. He's the world's foremost expert in the field of PEMF. And he created another signal in 1998. And after that, he spent the last 20 years perfecting his earlier discovery, his earlier creation, and now his new signal is in the Centropix Kloud mat. And Dr. Kafka has said that this new Kloud signal has 50 times greater activation power than any other device on the market, anything else that's available. And that is really important. And as you can see, this is completely wireless. It's very portable, lightweight. And what's really cool is that it also has this option where you can use it with an app. And this is very important, especially when it comes to working with horses. This option is really cool. So here we see Dr. Kafka, and he, as I mentioned, he actually has been working on the field of PEMF for the last 60 years. And so he is a theoretical physicist, a mathematician, and a zoologist. And he used to work at the famous Max Planck Institute in Berlin, Germany. And he brings all of that expertise, 60 years of expertise. So he is, I think, around 82, 83 years young. And we are so fortunate to have him with us and to bring this new technology to us. And this new Centropix Kloud mat already has 3 patents. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about those patents. So basically what the Kloud does is it works at the level of the molecule. So our body is made up of cells. We have various organs, and each of those organs is made up of cells. And we have roughly around 100 trillion cells in our body. And each of those cells are further made up of 100 trillion atoms. And so what basically the Kloud activation power, what that energy does is it basically activates all of those atoms and molecules so more interactions can take place every single second. Every second, there are 21 sextillion chemical reactions that take place in our body, and all of those require more energy. And so with the Kloud, it's giving the body that activation power so our whole body can be recharged. And here we are looking at a little bit about on the evolution of frequency therapy. So the very first image that you see in blue, that is the 1950 signal. And that, as you can see, had a very narrow spectrum. And basically the waveforms that were used at the start were the simple square wave. And then in 1980 came the sawtooth signal. And after 1980, there was no further progress in the field of PEMF till in 1998, Dr. Kafka came with his broadband signal, which you can see has many more amplitudes. It has a broader frequency and intensity spectrum. And as a result, now you can see, due to the waveform and the shape of the waveform, many more atoms and molecules were able to get activated. And then in 2020, and Laurie, if you just hit next, in 2020, you can see that Dr. Kafka, he was working behind the scenes and he created this new signal, which is in the Centropix Kloud mat. And this signal has this unique patented feature, which is called superposition. So here you can see where the signal waveform is superimposed on top of itself. And due to this superposition effect, almost every single cell, every single system, every single molecule, Dr. Kafka said in his own words that almost every single molecule in the body is now able to get activated because of this superposition effect. And due to this superposition, now the new Kloud signal has 50 times more activation power. So over here, Laurie, I will pass on the rest of the slides to you, and I'll be back in a few minutes.
Thank you, Chitvan. Okay, I'm excited to get going again. So as you can see, the new Kafka signal is really in a league of its own, with its multiple programs, variable outcomes, deep penetration, and the powerful intensity. And the interesting thing about this evening is everyone on this panel has extensive experience with Dr. Kafka's prior signal. So that's something interesting that we're all bringing to the table. So this is the horse set. And the reason that most of you are here with us this evening, this is the Centropix Kloud horse set. And the beauty of the horse set is that there's no need to purchase a separate unit. The horse set just consists of protective covers for the Kloud set that Chitvan just described to you. So the Kloud's not only for your horses, but for your dogs, your cats, your cows, your pigs, all of your animals. The Maxi Kloud zips into a body blanket and the Mini zips into a neck blanket. The Kloud can also be controlled, as Chitvan mentioned, by an optional app. This is so handy with horses because you can simply adjust the intensity of the program from your app. And if the horse starts to exhibit signs of restlessness, you can change the intensity to lower until you see relaxation. We all know that every horse is different, and some like higher intensities and some like lower intensities. And remember when Chitvan told us how the Kloud activates the cells in our body? Well, in the horse, the total functioning of the body involves the interaction of an estimated 400 trillion cells. That's a lot of cells. And the superpositioning signal of the Kloud means that the activation has a domino effect. This graphic gives you an idea of how the entire body is affected by the application of the Kloud on the back and the neck. And one of our panelists will tell you that her horses are no longer having leg swelling when she's at competition. And that usually happens when horses are on concrete stalls. To introduce everyone really briefly, okay, to my right on screen is Amy Finley, and she's a world level equine competitor. She's a facility manager, a craniosacral practitioner. She's been a vet tech for decades. And then next to her, we have Britt Arnold. Britt operates Twisted Wire Equine Sports Massage and also is a lifetime horse enthusiast. Additionally, Raelene Paris at the lower right-hand corner of the screen. She is a Masterson Method certified practitioner, and she's also currently attending the Vlugan Institute for Equine Osteopathy and Education. So everybody here is an equine practitioner, and let's just go around the room, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Let's start with Amy.
Hi guys, my name is Amy Finley. I am an avid horse lover. I've had horses all my life. I compete now in the reined cow horse. I did compete at a pretty high level barrel racing also in my previous life. I run a guest type ranch here in Arizona now with lots of horse activities and weddings and family reunions and such. Currently, I do show reined cow horse.
Tell us about, when you became involved with the Kloud, what your experience has been since you got it.
So I got introduced to the Kloud from Lori. I have a mare that I was having multiple issues with. Western medicine wasn't helping our situation. And so that's when Lori reached out to me to see what we could do with the Kloud. So we used it on that mare and on my show horses at the time. And I just fell in love. I've always used the previous Signal horse blanket. This is a game changer. Having all the different frequencies and different options on the blanket to reach and accomplish the different levels of relaxation, performance from the Kloud blanket just changes everything with the Signal. To the point, when I go to horse shows, I just got back from a show that we were there for 2 weeks. Horses standing on a concrete parking lot. Granted, we put pellets down for shavings and give them the best bedding that they can possibly get, but you're still on concrete. And when you walk out of the stalls, you're on concrete. Walking to the arenas, you're on concrete. And never had to pull out any other type of boots to put on our horses' legs at all in that 2-week time period. Use the Kloud blanket twice a day and kept their legs great through the whole 2 weeks without any stocking up or any extra issues on them.
That's amazing. And you could see other horses, of course, in the same environment that were having those issues, of course.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And, and all the extra things that, people were doing or whatever to try to keep their legs right. And it is just simply putting the Kloud blanket on. We use the transformer most of the time and the balancer. It just seems to work. Night we'll use relaxation on them. And in the mornings, if we're going to ride, as soon as we, feed in the morning, then I would use the exercise performance option. It's just to have all those different settings and frequencies to use. It's just amazing what this blanket can do for us.
And the thing that should be the takeaway from this statement is that, we don't have to apply anything to the legs. And, that takes a lot of time.
The horse that I show is 13. So, I mean, he is, has some age on him. And so we do have to pay special attention to things like that. And he was a rock star for 2 solid weeks, step out of a stall, raring to go.
That's amazing. Britt, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what your experience has been with the Kloud?
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Britt Arnold. For 11 years, I've been certified in equine sport massage, muscle conditioning, and alignment. I've been involved with horses my whole life. I've trained, taught horsemanship, rodeoed, coached, ranched, and right now I'm currently working with quarter horses in the racehorse field in the industry. I actually got involved with the 1998 technology. It took some time. My friend Danielle had been talking to me a lot about it, but I was a bit stubborn and was not giving in. So on one of my big massage trips to North Dakota, Danielle actually drove out there and met me with her unit and let me use it, and then used it on me also. And from there I was sold. and I knew I had to share it. And after that, I got to talk to Nate and all of them, and he walked me through the equine side. It was just an amazing experience. And what I was seeing with the horses, I mean, I have so many testimonials, but one of the biggest things in my line of work is when you are manually warming up those muscles. That's hard on the horse, and it's also hard on us, you know. What I noticed using this technology, especially this new signal, is it takes a lot of that manual warm up out, and it puts those horses in a relaxed state. It warms those muscles up, but it also puts them in this like learning frame of mind. So if it's a horse I've never done before, they're so willing to be there. So you can tell it's hitting all levels, mental, physical, you know what I mean? They're just such a willing partner to be right there. I have a testimonial if you'd like me to share it now. So one of the testimonials, like I said, I have a ton and it would take a long time, but one of my favorites is one about a horse named Ace. He's a black and white paint. He's 9 years old. His current owner has not owned him all that long. And his previous owner, he got injured, ranch horse. They turned him out to pasture to let him heal. Well, she ended up with him and he wasn't traveling right. He was extremely high-headed. You could tell when he'd move, it wasn't his natural gait. And she said, well, he won't even let me touch his face, nothing. She's like, I just want to love on him. He's my new horse and I can't even, you know. And I put the Kloud on him before I did a massage. And you could see during the Kloud session all the signs of relaxation. Like he was licking and chewing, cocking a leg. But there towards the end, he started to blink. And you finally saw his head come down and he really just started to relax completely. So I started working through him and I go through him head to tail, and he was loving up on his owner, who's never been able to really touch his face. She was kissing his muzzle, which was nothing like she'd ever been able to attempt before because he was in so much pain. And she could not believe it the whole time. She's like, I have goosebumps. This is fantastic. And I just got a video of them last night as she's cantering through him, loping him through the pasture, and he is doing very, very well.
Peeling the layers off the onion, right?
Yes.
Raelene, tell us who you are and tell us about what you're doing with the Kloud in the field.
Okay, I'm Raelene Paris. I'm based out of Arizona. I'm a Masterson Method certified practitioner, which for those of you not familiar with Masterson, it is a form of bodywork where we're finding and releasing tension to improve range of motion. I am also currently a student at the Bluegen Institute for Equine Osteopathy, which is an international institute based in Florida and Germany, which requires me to travel to Florida multiple times a year for studying. It's a 3-year program. I had previously used the older technology, the older signal for quite some time in my business, kind of incorporating it with the body work. And then with the new one, what I've found is that when you get those tough cases where you kind of maybe plateau or you're only getting so far with the body work, you think maybe this is the best that I've got for this horse and that's all I can do and we're just going to maintain. And then what I found with the Kloud is that it actually almost boosts you over that plateau. And with multiple case studies, I've been able to kind of get, okay, a little further, and maybe that wasn't as far as we could have gone. So that's mostly where I use it. The really tough cases, a lot of the seniors, some neurological stuff, just things where I need a little bit extra help.
Have you found that you like to put the owners on it too?
I try to do that when they're willing. I'm like, hey, so we just put on your horse. And then I'll say, pull up a chair and why don't you take a sit on it while I work on the horse? And then they get to experience. I had one owner say, oh, I hope this is what my horse feels like. I'm pretty sure it is.
And the added benefit of that is Raelene and I've spoken of many times since she's doing energy work with the horse. It gets the owner out of that energy space.
Yeah, that's a huge point too.
Because,
to
you know,
say,
one
okay.
of my horses, she can't even work on when I'm out there. I literally have to go in the house. So
yeah, they have such a connection with the owner. So it also gives the owner and the horse a little bit of space to just say, all right, you go sit on this and kind of enjoy your moment and let your horse enjoy their moment, and everybody's happy at the end.
So we have someone joining us this evening, and I'm gonna turn the floor over to Amy Finley and then invite Wendy Schaefer into the call. And Wendy is a new customer and a new affiliate that Amy introduced. So I'm gonna bring Wendy in and we're gonna see what her experience has been. Wendy?
Lori, nice to meet
Hi.
you.
Nice
Yep,
to meet
yep,
you.
nice to meet you too. Well, I was at an event. I'm a producer for a managed shooting club. We put on managed shooting events, throughout the year here in Arizona.
Tell
And
everyone
we
what
were,
that is, because not everyone on the call knows what mounted shooting is.
yeah, it's kind of like a gymkhana where you run a pattern, but you're shooting balloon targets with a single action Colt 45 with black powder blanks. So you run around a course and shoot targets. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. Look it up, Google it. It's awesome. But we were up in Camp Verde and Amy was producing or hosting the event there at her facility. And she had her Kloud there and we decided to try it. And I have a couple different horses. The one that I tried it on is my horse. He's a saddlebred. He's not your typical managed shooting horse. He's he's a saddlebred, so he's a little bit watchy, a little bit anxiety, really awesome horse, but he's kind of a goon. But she put the blanket on him and he immediately was just relaxing and just settling in. His head at one point, like his nose was in the dirt, which doesn't happen. They're very high-headed, they're very, just alert animals, right? And when I went out the next day, he was so much calmer. And even though he was still looking at stuff, he was just a lot, I don't even know how to describe it. He was just a lot more relaxed. And I had another treatment the next day, had a treatment on myself. When I shoot, my shoulders and my traps and stuff get tight, and usually I have to have like a huge massage with some mashing on the knots in my shoulder to get those to release. And Amy worked me, worked my horse the next day. He was so, I don't, he, soft is the word I would say. Like I could just go in there and he was compliant and soft and just so beautiful. And I didn't hurt. I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel fantastic, So I was pretty sold. I had tried the former version, and I liked it, but I just didn't see the kind of results I wanted to see to make the investment. And after, I had my experience there with Amy at Camp Verde, it really sold me. So we went ahead and purchased it. I unfortunately, I produced these events and I just didn't even have the time to even take it out of the box, for like a week and a half. And got to my event and my husband's horse is an older horse. He's 23. And, my horse obviously is there. And I tried different settings. I tried different treatments on them. And I'm going to tell you, we were there for like 10, 11 days and it was at Queen Creek. So it's a concrete stall. We do have rubber mats and we do have shavings in the stall, but nonetheless, usually the horses get, they're in a stall for that long. And we have 24/80 turnouts, where we're at my house. So, they usually get stocked up in the legs or I don't know, by the end of the event, they're just exhausted. So every day I did their treatments and they were just amazing the entire time. My husband's horse, he's in our event, we have like different levels. So it's levels 1 through 6 and he's a senior men's 6. So that's like the top level, the 6. And I'm a 5, but I had an injury, so I don't quite run as fast as I used to. But so for my husband, with his horse never always clocks those top times with some of the top competitors. Like he's a level 6 horse, but he's not like that top one that's just going to win all the time. And there were several occasions during our event where he actually ran right there with those top times. And when I put the Kloud on him, he just relaxed. He was just, it was like he was like, oh, thank you. I mean, that was just his body language to me. So the very last day before the last day, I didn't end up doing the treatments with him. I was tired I just been running these events and I was just worn out and I just was like, I'm not going to do it. And our horses still perform because they're good horses. But I could tell on my horse, he didn't even want to warm up. He was tired. And every other day leading up to that for 9 days, he was completely fine. So I'm new to this. I don't have a huge amount of experience with it, and we're still playing with it. And I can't wait to work on me and my husband, for ourselves. But I just haven't had the time. But so far, what I see is just amazing.
So
Like I'm
far,
just so
so
sold.
good. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and that's the cool thing is that you can't, like basically you said, I took it out of the box at the horse show, right?
Mm.
And before with the prior signal, we had to have people trust us a lot more because it took longer, you know? You only have to have people trust you for 20 minutes. And then they get a result that's amazing with this new signal. So it's Amy, did you have anything to add about that transaction?
No, I mean, it was just amazing to see Wendy's horse just melt under the first treatment. And he was so receptive for the second treatment. Um, he was like, I don't know what you did to me the last time, but do it again, and I mean, it's neat and, it's a blessing to me to be able to provide something, to share something that is helping these equine athletes out. I mean, we ask a lot of these horses. And just to be able to help them in any way is huge.
And when Wendy's husband's horse being 23 years old, just the idea that he'll be able to keep working, your husband doesn't want to get a new horse. He wants to.
No, we have young ones coming up, and he really works well with this horse. And my husband's a farrier, so my intention is, for him to actually use the Kloud out there in the field when he's working, on horses that he's going to be shoeing and whatnot. So,
And that's going to
but
segue me into something with Raelene, because Raelene just went out with a barefoot trimmer and spent the day.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, like, oh, perfect timing. Let me tell you about that. So you
Segue
can
that
tell your
in right
husband
now.
about this. But yeah, so I partnered up with a fellow practitioner who's a barefoot trimmer, and I said, hey, why don't you pick a day when you've got some more difficult horses that have trouble kind of just standing and hanging out while you do their feet, and I'll put the Kloud on them while you're doing the trim or before the trim, whatever we see fit. So we went and did 8 courses that day, and every single one, including the mini, all just fell asleep during the trim. Like, she was shocked. I wish she was here. She couldn't make it tonight, but it was just amazing. I took pictures of all these horses, just like her trimming, them sleeping, and just loving the Kloud. She said it made her life so much easier. And the mini, normally it takes like 2 or 3 people to kind of keep him contained, and he just can't stand. They do 1 foot and let him go, 1 foot, let him go. Nope, he just stood there the whole time. So definitely try it.
And that's life-changing for a farrier, right? To not have horses jerk you around all day long and to have them enjoy their footwork, so to speak.
Yeah, and just so that they're comfortable enough, and then as sure Wendy can attest, that it's a safety thing too.
Well, that's absolutely, my husband's not a spring chicken anymore, and I don't want him getting hurt, number one. And number two, I don't like him to have to use sedations and whatnot, and some of these horses hurt. They're older horses and they hurt, and you pick up their legs and they're just reacting to the pain. And he understands that, and he's a real patient guy. But, I just thought this could really, number one, help him. Number two, there's clients out there that might see the benefit in this and decide that, they might want to get that for themselves. So, yeah.
And not only that, he's got to have some aches and pains just from being a farrier. So I'll be interested to see how he feels in 6 to 8 weeks,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw on the chat somebody mentioning that their farrier loves to have a session, and it gave me a good idea. Like, hey, when your farrier's there working on your horses, why don't you just set up a chair and say, hey, on your next break, or why don't you take a 15, have a drink?
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. We love our farriers, and there's sure not enough of them. Amy, I also wanted you to tell us about, I know that you worked with a trainer recently in Texas, and that he had some pretty profound results.
Yes. Yeah. So I had the opportunity to share the Kloud with a friend of mine when we were back in Fort Worth the last couple of weeks. He wanted it for himself first. So I sat him down in a chair and he fell asleep in the 15 minutes that he was sitting in it. And he was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I fell asleep. And I'm like, no, it's good. You know, I mean, that's what it, you know, it helps you feel better. And so he's like, all right, well, let's do my horse, you know. And so he's riding a 4-year-old cow horse. And, you know, they're fed pretty good. We, you know, he had to go do a reining pattern and cow work. But he was just exercising the horse that night, and he would get his horse out at least 3 times a day to get him exercised. We did the treatment or the session with the Kloud blanket on his horse, and he called me, about an hour and a half later, and he goes, do you realize how much time you saved me and my horse? And he said, I did not have to warm up my horse for 30 minutes. I saddled him, and when I got on, he was ready to go to work. And if we can save our horse's legs anytime, any beating up, warming up, I mean, that's huge in our industry. And in any industry, really, because I mean, the less we have to warm up and the more mentally prepared our horses are before we compete, I mean, that's a game changer.
And it goes exactly to what Britt was saying at the beginning of the talk about when she starts working on a horse, that horse is already so far into being warmed up that she can get so much further in her whatever body work that she's doing with the horses. So
right, mentally and physically, they're warmed up, ready to go to work.
So we've got some questions coming in, and I want to get all of your guys' take on, we've got one in the Q&A. When do you use the various sessions? And I know that we all know that all horses are different, but let's go around starting with Amy and just give a little bit for our audience about how you choose what intensities and what programs.
Okay, so for my personal show horse that I use it on the most, in the mornings, I like to use the balance. Usually I'll just do balance first thing in the morning. If I'm going to go ride just shortly after, then I'll use exercise right after and do 2 sessions on them.
You mean program 2, energize?
And program 2, yeah, energize. I'm sorry. Yeah, so yeah, I'll use program 2 balancer and then program 3 energizer in the morning. If I'm going to go ride right away. In the evening time, I'll use program 5 and then program 1 relax, usually at night. If I'm just doing it right before I get on to warm up, then I just use program 3 before I get on. I just have really good success with that. I just feel like my horse is ready to go at any time. And I really like to use program 1 in the afternoon when we're done, right when I'm feeding, just to relax them and just be ready for a good evening.
Set the evening off for a nice rest. Yeah. How about you,
Right.
Britt? What is your go-to programs and intensities?
Well, it depends on which horses I'm doing, but I thought this was interesting that we were talking about older horses of Wendy's husbands, and I am right now using my 24-year-old to pony some racehorse colts. So for him, what I like to use is either synchronize or balance. Generally, I'll do synchronize in the mornings, balance at night, or the relaxer program. He is 24 years old. He's getting up there. There's arthritis. You know what I like to do those 2 programs on him. Energize for him. He's still got so much gas left in the tank that I have not branched out to that one. But that's kind of my
Sometimes it's not
go-to.
necessary.
Yeah, I do like to use relax in those. on a lot of the racehorses before we have farrier, things like that going on. But yeah, it just changes with every horse I do. Depends on what I have going on.
Awesome. What about you, Raelene?
So kind of like Britt said, it kind of depends on the horse standing in front of you, what you're working with. For horses who haven't had either the previous technology or the Kloud, I usually start with the synchronize on a 2 or a 3, depending on how they're responding, just to kind of break it in and say, hey, this is what this is all about. Make sure it's not too much for you. Clients that I see regularly, I'm usually going for the transform for that vital horse. Occasionally a relax, depending on, like I said, what's in front of me, what I'm trying to achieve. But again, that's the best part of the Kloud. You can adapt to what's in front of you and not just be stuck with, oh, well, that's it. So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And like I have an Arabian who's extremely sensitive and
Yeah.
and I need to turn it down to a 2. And if I bump it up to an intensity 3, I can literally see her change. If I bump it down to 2, you can see her relax. Now, if I have a horse that's oblivious and doesn't seem to even know it's on him or her, then I'll bump it up. I'll bump up the intensity a little bit.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what's so nice about it.
And I usually start with a 3 too. I forgot to mention that, unless I've had them before. But like you with the Arabian, I do have a Pasifino, and it can't get above a 2, or he starts to show some different signs. So he's more comfortable down at the lower levels.
And you know that Arabian really never enjoyed the prior signal at all. In fact, I got to where I would just use a cuff on her neck, and that was sufficient. Just using even the blanket was just too much for her. So this is nice because I can turn it way down. Super sensitive girl. Chitvan, did we have somebody that wants to jump in?
That's
Lauren?
right. We've got some great lot of attendees here, and I actually wanted to invite Lauren Hoover West. Lauren, tell everybody what you do.
I'm an animal communicator and an energy healer, and I focus on horses, mostly equines that I work with. So I'm seeing a lot of the things you guys are seeing. This is great. I love hearing the settings that you're using because I've predominantly been using 4 with them and sometimes 5 for recovery, but I haven't really played around with 1, 2, or 3 with them. But what I'm seeing is almost all of them really relax. They start chewing and their heads get heavier and their eyes start to close and they almost fall asleep. It's really great. I have had a couple though that didn't seem to really like it, and I want to hear from everybody else. Any experiences of what people should look for, because I think this is important. If a horse is not comfortable with it, what I've seen is like them dancing around and just kind of moving from side to side, like, I don't really like this, take this off of me. But that's only happened to me twice. So
That would be my cue to lower the intensity, and when Wendy has her hand up as well, lower the intensity or change the program.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. We just basically stopped. So I'm glad to have, try different stuff. And that was on number 4. So that surprised me, but maybe number 1 would have been one to switch to.
Well, I mean, a synchronized program 4, but an intensity 1 would always be a good place to start. Lower intensities for the horses. I think everybody here agrees. Wendy, did you have your hand up intentionally?
I did actually. I was gonna let Lauren know that, being new to this, and like I said, my experience is very limited. But I had my intensity just set to 3 because that's where it's self-programmed, right? It's auto-programmed for 3. And both of my horses responded really well. So I thought, well, I'll just jump to 4 and see what happens. And that was too much for both of them, actually. It was more notable on my saddlebred. He just wasn't relaxed. He was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Whatever. And he was just high-headed and whatever. My other horse, he was okay, but he just wasn't like ready. When I first started using the blanket on Jordan, my husband's horse, Jordan, the 23-year-old, he literally, I don't know if you guys have ever sedated a horse, but you know when they're sedated and their knees start to buckle and they have to catch themselves? That's literally how he was on intensity 3. On intensity 4, he wasn't like that. He was still kind of relaxed looking, but he wasn't like that. So I decided that, well, 4 might be too much for my guys. So we went back down to 3. Yeah.
The beauty is the horses will not lie to you. They will always tell you immediately. Awesome, you guys. This has been really fun. And let's do it again soon.
Thank you.